Hi, I'm Brandon Briscoe, and welcome to the Postscript Shorts, a short story segment that's built around testimonies from students from the Living Faith Bible Institute. And so we were convinced along the way that we needed to provide you with stories from people about how God's used them and what he's done in their life. And so we're taking time every other week on Wednesdays, just like this, to share stories from some of our students, what God's doing in their life, with the hope that it would be an encouragement to you. And so I have the privilege of interviewing a really good friend of mine and a minister in the college and young adult ministry. And I'm so excited for him to tell you his story. It's a blessing. And so with that, I want to introduce Larry Nguyen. And
Hey.
spell Nguyen for us.
It is Nguyen. Doesn't sound like it, but
How
Nguyen.
often do people mispronounce it?
all the time.
What do they say?
They say Nguyen, Nagayan. So I get that all the time. It's normal.
Okay, so your name is
Mhm.
a traditional name. Tell
Yeah.
us where your family is from,
hmm
and tell us a little bit how you guys ended up in the States in Kansas City.
Yeah. So I'm Vietnamese American. My parents were born in Vietnam, and I think my mom was about 20 when she came here.
Mm.
And so the last name Nguyen actually came from, I did a little bit of research, and I think they said there was like a king or a conqueror
Mm.
back then. His last name was Nguyen. And so you see so many Vietnamese with the last name Nguyen.
Yeah. And so your mom,
Mhm.
did she settle initially in Kansas City? Was she already married to your dad, or they met here?
So
How'd that work?
yeah, they met here. They both worked at a factory.
Okay.
And I think, yeah, they just kind of kicked it off at the job.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And they settled in, where did you grow up? What part of Kansas City was it that you grew up in?
Northeast Kansas City.
Yeah. Do you
Yeah.
represent the NE?
Oh, yeah. You
Yeah.
know, I was born and raised in Kansas City my whole life, and Northeast.
It's a really special neighborhood, right? Like, it's so unique in Kansas City. Tell us why the North, like, especially for
Yeah.
people who are listening that aren't from this area, tell
Mhm.
them why the Northeast is such a unique place in our city.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Northeast, so I don't
Mhm.
really consider it like unique.
Yeah.
But having now explored some other places, yeah, Northeast, we like to consider it the hood. It's got a lot of minorities, a lot of Somalians, Vietnamese, Asians, Mexicans. Food is fire. That's the
Yeah.
big benefit to it.
So the neighborhoods,
But-
if for people who are, don't know the area well,
Mhm.
block to block,
Yeah.
it's a completely different community of internationals. So
Mhm.
like on one block, you might have Ethiopians, and the next block you might have Vietnamese.
Mhm.
And on that block, they're speaking in that language.
Mhm.
And then like along the major corridors, you've got restaurants and
Yeah.
laundromats that are kind of for different
Yep.
segments of the population. It's really, it's cool that way. It's a cool place.
Yeah, it is. Like if you go to my neighborhood, you'll see like there's a ton of Vietnamese, my neighborhood, and then a block up, there's a ton of like Somalians,
Mhm.
Mexicans. It's kind of weird how a lot of the community naturally kind of like lives
Yeah.
around each other.
Yeah, people like, especially when we're talking about
hmm
migrants, people who are refugees, lots of refugees in that
Mhm.
area. It's much easier just to find people that you're like, because there's a survival aspect to it. Like
Yeah.
you're trying to survive in a community that's completely different than your own. You don't know English, or you don't know it well,
hmm
and it's just hard. You want to surround yourself with people that make it easier, insulate you a little bit.
Yeah.
Is that what it was like for you? Like when you're
Mhm.
in your neighborhood with your people, that felt right. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, we had growing up, we didn't hang out with a lot of our neighbors.
Mhm.
We were really family based, so
Mhm.
hung out with my brother, my siblings,
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
And we did have one neighbor where he was Mexican, but
Uh-huh.
we played soccer together often.
Mhm.
But the way that I grew up in Northeast, we were very like protective, and so like going out, me and your neighbors was really foreign.
That's
Like,
that's more of a suburban idea. isn't it?
yeah, because you don't know, you knock on someone's house, you know,
You don't know what's going on. You might have
exactly.
interrupted something really important.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so tell us about your family, okay? Because this is really intriguing. So you grew up in this very tight-knit Vietnamese family. Tell us about your parents, your siblings, and then how you grew up. Like, what was it like coming into your teenage years?
I grew up, like I said, in Northeast, so the environment wasn't the best. My mom and dad divorced when I was about 4 years old, and so Mama was a hustler, and she was just working her butt off, trying to provide for the family. My brother was 4 years older than me, and so he was trying to, step up and try to take that kind of dad role almost in my life, and just wanted to help out, mom as well. And so my sisters, they were sweet. I mean, I was the youngest in the family, so they did really well, loving on me. My dad's side, a lot of them were Catholic, and my mom's side, a lot of them were Hindu / Buddhist / folktale, like a lot of ancestor worship.
Ancestry worship, yeah. I remember you and I talking about that a lot in the early days at MBT when you first got here, because that's hard to watch, especially once you've gotten saved. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, there was definitely moments where I had to say no a lot of times after I got saved.
Yeah.
But that was kind of how I grew up. And I was never pushed into any of either side. My parents, my grandparents definitely practiced those religions more.
Yeah.
And so I didn't believe anything. And at a young age, I did always have questions. And I remember, I think I was like 7 or 8 years old. I asked one of my older cousins, Peter, I was like, hey, Peter, what happens when we die? And his answer was, it's like, what? You're only 7 years old and you already think about death? And so at a young age, I kind of brushed that away and kind of lived just for myself, trying to make money, trying to please my parents, trying to retire my mom. That was one of my big goals kind of growing up.
Take care of mama.
Yeah.
That's when you grew up in the hood. That's the thing. Like you got to make money so you can take care of mom. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where'd you go to high school?
North Kansas City High School.
That's right. Okay.
It was a culture shock.
Yeah, it's different. I remember talking to you about this because it was like way different than what you were used to. It's a little bit more of a white bread community.
Yeah.
Country boys and.
Yeah, for sure. It wasn't country. It was definitely a lot more, I guess, if you say white bread, not sure the meaning of that word. Thing. Kinda.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like Northeast was a lot of, I guess, gangster mentality kind of. And that's kind of how I grew up. Like I thought being gangster was cool. I thought being tough was cool. And I think a lot of it was my older cousins as well. They were heavily involved in that type of environment. And so that's kind of what I wanted.
Yeah. That was what influenced you culturally, was watching the way they held themselves and the way they behaved. And so when you ended up North Kansas City High School, it was like, way different than that. It wasn't a whole lot of room to be that type of person, probably.
Oh no. Yeah, you had like one kid sagging, and everybody's, oh man, he's a bad kid, watch out for him.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And
so North Kansas City, you graduate from high school. Tell us how you ended up at church. Like, what was the catalyst? Because it's kind of a fun story.
Yeah.
How did you end up at Midtown Baptist Temple? And tell us about what God did.
After I graduated high school, I kind of hit like another season in life where I was pursuing entrepreneurship, pursuing the big bucks, right? And I was, just kind of trying to make a lot of money, you know?
You're hustling the way your mom hustled, the way your brother hustled.
Yeah, so I dabbled into a lot of things.
Yeah.
But it kind of led up to all-time high where I went to Miami and, it was supposed to be like a business trip, but really it was just more kind of like vacation. We were like partying, went to the beach and so on. And I thought it was fun, and when I came back, I kind of hit another season in life where I just felt like empty and depressed. And I started asking myself, like, man, if this is the good life, the American dream that I thought, right? Why do I feel this way? And so when I got back from that trip, I started asking questions like, man, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Like, so what if, I make a ton of money and I retire my mom? Like, what's next?
Yeah.
And so I started binging a bunch of books. I started searching for truth. And there was a motivational speaker. Because I was into entrepreneurship,
Sure.
I really liked motivational speakers and so on. And this guy had a top 20 book list. And so as I'm kind of searching, I was going through those books, and I ended up reading like all 19 of them. And I thought they were like changing my life. A lot of it was like prosperity, Christian. The guy was a Christian.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But his number one book on the list was always the Bible. And so, in my head, I'm thinking like all these books were changing my life, and so I'm like, there must be something fire about this Bible.
Right. Yeah.
And so on my own time, I started just reading the Bible on my own and just trying to see what's so good about it, and I started from Genesis, and, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and I committed to like reading a page a day, and I think a month later, I kind of fell away because I just thought it was boring.
Yeah, right.
Never really clicked,
Yeah.
But in the midst of that, I was a server at a restaurant, and I met this guy named Noah, and, I was just making small talk with this guy. He was like pretty quiet guy, and I asked him, what do you do?
Yeah.
And his response to me was, I work at this church, but if you want to come check it out, you should come to this church instead.
Yeah.
And so he was...
So this is weird. So he worked at a church locally.
Yeah.
But he was like, if you want to know what Christianity is about, you should go to this church over here, which happened to be our church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't know it, but he was really new to Midtown at the time. And yeah, I did think it was weird because I was like, don't religious people want to recruit you to their church or something? And so I was like, yeah, I'll come check it out. And so I wrote the address of Midtown in the back of my notepad, and that was a Saturday. I went the next day, Sunday morning, and my first impression was I thought it was weird. I thought there was a whole lot of like smiles and love, and I wasn't really used to that.
Yeah.
Like the way I grew up, like I said, it was like a lot of walls built up. And so I sat down, and by the end of the preaching, man, God was dealing with my heart, and I knew it, you know. And so by the end of it, Pastor Sam gave an altar call, and he asked something along the lines of, if you don't know where you're going after you die, or if you don't know God, raise your hand. I want to pray for you.
Yeah.
And I used to be super shy. And so I think I gave like a faint, raised my hand barely. I don't even know if he saw me. But after that, he prayed for us. And he said, man, if you raise your hand, come to the front, we want to meet you. And I'm like, there's no way I'm going up there, but man, I was convicted. And God gave me courage, and I walked up there, and I met Pastor Sam, and he introduced me to you. And I remember you asking me, like, Larry, what brings you here?
Yeah.
And my response to you was, I think adding a religion to my belt would make me a better person.
Which is almost exactly how you said it. You're like,
yeah,
I'm here to round out my life. Like I need this because it'll make me a better person.
Yeah, I was really thinking it would help me out with business and so on. And I was still in that season, and your response to me was, Larry, I'm sorry to let you down, but if it's a religion you're looking for, we don't have that here for you. And so that was kind of like a paradigm shift for me. I'm like, what is this guy talking about? I always wore a cross on my neck, but the concept of like relationship never clicked to me. I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
And you had told me how I could know God personally. And so I was like, okay. And so me and you sat down together, and man, you shared the gospel with me, and that was for the first time I heard it, and I cried out to the Lord that morning to, man, save me. And I didn't know at the time, but man, a lot of people were like, "Congratulations, bro."
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, "What is this guy talking about?"
Yeah, I remember that day you had to go to work, so you didn't come down to the college and young adult ministry. And I invited you, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to try to be there." And I think it was maybe a week or two later that you showed up. But I remember after you professed Christ and you accepted Christ in Kaya, we prayed for you. The whole ministry prayed for you that Sunday. Man. And man, it's been wonderful the last few years watching God work in your life. So we know we didn't talk about this at the beginning of the episode, but maybe you can reintroduce yourself as the person who's been saved. Like maybe now is your opportunity to say all the ways in which God's using you in ministry and what God's doing in your life to give people a new picture of who you are after Christ.
Yeah. So it's been 3 years now. I got saved February 2019, and man, I'm trusting God for my family. I'm so thankful, man. When I got saved, like I just want to see them get saved, you know. And I got to see like my brother and my sister make a profession of faith, and so now I'm plugging in as much as I can, you know. And I'm discipling right now. I'm a part of Friends on Internationals, and I'm just trusting God to see more souls saved and to see disciples of
Tell us what how God's using you in Friends of Internationals. What is that ministry? Maybe not everybody knows about what that is.
Yeah, so we are Friends of Internationals. We, you know, the goal. So it's a organization under a campus, but the goal is to then build relationships to love on these internationals, because there's so many internationals around the world that are coming everywhere. You know, India, Taiwan, Japan,
coming right here to Kansas City.
Yeah. And so we get to be friends to them, you know. And so we have like an event tonight, Conversational English, where there's going to be a whole lot of internationals coming out.
Just to speak English with you. Yeah.
They want to speak English. A lot of them, when they come, they're scared.
Yeah.
You know, and so we get to love on them and share Christ with them. So the goal is to, man, be a friend so that we can introduce them to, man, Jesus.
Yeah. That's so good, man. And you're discipling and you're involved with Bible study, and God's doing all this cool stuff in you. You know, when you first got saved, I mean, you were probably you were in maybe just finishing up with discipleship when your brother passed away. And that was a super big test for you. That's no joke, man. That rocked you big time. Tell us about how God used that in your life and what that season was like.
Yeah. Man, I'm so thankful that man, God saved me that day, because my brother was like, me and him were tight. He was like my best friend and my dad in a sense too, like my role model. Yeah. And so after I got saved, he was like the first person that I was trying to share the gospel with, you know. So I invited him out a ton, and long story short, man, he made multiple professions of faith. Yeah. And he was,
it didn't stick the first time and the second time, but he kept making sure that he knew Christ. Like it was a big deal to him. Even though he was kind of in the world and struggling with worldliness, it was like he knew that God loved him and Christ was his savior.
Yeah. By the end of his life, man, his salvation was clear. You know, it was one of my biggest joys, because when I was in Vietnam, he would come out, you know, and was without me, and he loved the prayer nights. But yeah, for your question, God prepared me big time for him passing, you know. And to keep it brief, man, God gave me Job, you know, in my quiet time, and I didn't know why. And so when I heard of the passing, I was actually supposed to preach for a big group, and I was meditating on Job and on the message, not knowing why. But when I got the news, man, it broke me. But I've just been meditating on Job, and I'm like, man, that's why.
Yeah.
And so it was hard. I didn't respond anywhere near Job, but man, God grew me so much in that. And looking back, like because my brother passed, man, I got to have so many open doors with my family. My oldest sister made a profession of faith like 3 weeks ago, finally, and my mom, she did make a profession of faith, but I'm still trusting God to confirm that.
Yeah.
But there's just been like so many open doors, and just being able to prioritize souls more.
Yeah.
It's like a different kind of outlook. Like life is short,
Yeah.
and never know.
How does the LFBI help you? What's
Mhm.
how you're taking classes and you're doing stuff like that. How is it preparing you for what God's doing in your life?
Yeah. So I started taking LFBI, I think early 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first class I took was sevens. And man, LFBI has impacted my walk tremendously. Like just being able to have reinforcement on like why we believe the things that we believe, like being able to go through manuscript evidence and just seeing all these crazy things where I'm like, what the heck? I'm like, only God,
Yeah.
and
for
the same
sure.
thing with sevens. It's like
Yeah.
just all the crazy like numerology and
Mm-hmm.
like there's a lot of, I'd say, practical things in LFBI. And I think like for me personally, just how I'm discipling right now, like there's a lot of questions that come up, and I'm able to give a reason why we believe what we believe.
Yeah.
And so it's a huge blessing.
And you're working through a call on your own life that LFBI hopefully is equipping you for.
Mm-hmm.
What are you praying for right now in terms of your own, own future in your walk with Jesus?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm discipling right now. I want to trust God for my disciple to grow and make more disciples.
Yeah.
And I recently transitioned to another Bible study, and so that's been super exciting. One of my friends just came back, and so as of right now, I'm just trusting God to dial down on Friends of Internationals, my Bible study. I want to see us split hopefully by the end of this year or whenever.
Start a new Bible study.
Yeah.
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 I'm praying for that too, man. It was just like maybe 3 months ago, I met with you and Andy. You had just started the new Bible study. It was just the two of you. And there was maybe a couple of other attenders that were infrequent. And you were like, oh my gosh. It's just, we don't have any resources. It's just the two of us. What is God going to do? And there was a little bit of fear and we prayed through it.
Yeah.
And now it's 4 months later. How many people are coming to your Bible study?
Man, we have guys off and on, but every time we haven't had a Bible study that I would say, like last time we had, I think it was 6 or 7 of us. That's what the average right now.
Yeah.
Comes and goes, but we're trusting God for faithful men. Yeah.
God's at work. Yeah. It's very cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, I'm grateful for your leadership, your growing leadership. It means a lot to me. It's wonderful for Kaya. It's wonderful for MBT, and it's a blessing to have growing leaders like you in LFBI.
Yeah. Thankful for you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
God had a special appointment for you and me that day in February. That was one of the great privileges of my life, was to sit down with you that day. It means a lot to me. Do you listen to this show?
Oh yeah.
What is your favorite episode of the Postscript?
Man, so I was thinking about it. So personally, I love Kenny.
Yeah.
So any episode he's in, any LFBI class he teaches, I gotta be in there.
Right.
But I love, so I was listening recently to just discipleship and the cost of discipleship. So Kenny did a couple series on that.
Yeah.
And then I really like Mark Trotter. Him sharing his story, like long hair.
Oh yeah, the Jesus Freak episode.
Yeah. I love that one a lot too.
Dude, yeah. Any of the Mark Trotter episodes, those get tons of play. Dude, I love you, man. I'm
Love you
grateful
too.
for you. Thank you so much for hanging out doing this. This is still kind of new, the whole people giving their stories.
Yeah.
Do you like this?
It's a little scary at first. It's definitely different. You know, you got all the lights going on.
Yeah.
But
We try to make it professional, but you did a good job today. Larry, thank you so much for being on the show.
man, it's a privilege. Thank you.
Yeah. And we want to thank you too for joining us for this episode of the Postscript Shorts. I'm still getting used to saying that. That's a new thing for us. And we love the idea of sharing testimonies with you. And we're hoping to build up a bunch of these stories in a way that would benefit you and benefit and grow your faith. And so we love you. We're grateful for you. We want to remind you again that LFBI is, it's a school that is built to be affordable, to be flexible, but most of all, to be faith-giving and life-giving. And so we have been blessed with opportunity to build a school that is easy for people to be a part of, simple to fit it in their life, but very, very challenging in terms of its rigor and the expectations. And so we want to invite you to come be a part of what we're doing as a way of growing your own ministry, growing your own leadership capacity, and ultimately learning what it means to be a missionary in your own community and serve your local church to the best of your abilities. And so check out lfbi.org, check out the Postscript. We love you, and we can't wait to be with you again next week. God bless.